Max Verstappen has secured pole position for the sprint race at the United States Grand Prix in Austin, Texas, delivering yet another masterclass performance that keeps the championship battle alive. The Red Bull driver clocked a stunning lap time of 1:32.143, edging out McLaren's Lando Norris by a mere 0.071 seconds in what turned out to be a nail-biting finale to sprint qualifying. The sprint qualifying format at the Circuit of the Americas consisted of 3 sessions, with drivers mandated to use medium compound tyres in SQ1 and SQ2 before switching to soft tyres for the decisive SQ3 shootout. The opening session, SQ1, set the tone for what would be a dramatic qualifying afternoon, with Verstappen immediately establishing his credentials by setting the fastest time, finishing 0.086 seconds ahead of Ferrari's Lewis Hamilton. McLaren's duo of Oscar Piastri and Norris stayed within striking distance, while Mercedes' Kimi Antonelli impressed by setting the fastest middle sector despite his subdued practice session earlier in the day. However, chaos erupted during the final runs of SQ1 as several drivers left the pit lane too late, desperately racing to cross the line in time to start their flying laps. Red Bull's Yuki Tsunoda became the highest-profile victim of this confusion, with his team releasing him too late to complete a proper flying lap. As the checkered flag fell before he could set a competitive time, Tsunoda took to his radio in frustration, querying "what?" as he returned to the pits without a lap time. Sauber's Gabriel Bortoleto faced additional pressure after his first lap time was deleted for exceeding track limits at turn 19, and he ultimately failed to set any time at all, leaving him stranded in 20th position. The elimination zone also claimed Haas drivers Oliver Bearman and Esteban Ocon, along with Alpine's Franco Colapinto, while the stewards investigated 9 drivers for exceeding the maximum delta time by driving too slowly during their outlaps. The second qualifying segment, SQ2, saw Norris stamp his authority on the session with a commanding lap of 1:33.33, finishing 0.13 seconds clear of Verstappen and maintaining McLaren's 1-3 formation with Piastri in third, 0.338 seconds behind. 4 drivers opted for a risky single-run strategy in the final 3 minutes, including Nico Hulkenberg, Isaac Hadjar, Liam Lawson, and Pierre Gasly, all attempting to escape the drop zone. Lawson's gamble backfired spectacularly when his only lap was deleted for track limits at turn 19, and he encountered traffic issues that prompted an angry radio message. "Mate, what the fay was that?" The Racing Bulls driver pointed out that a car had been positioned in the middle of the track when he approached the corner. Lewis Hamilton barely squeaked into the top 10 by just 0.06 of a second ahead of Mercedes' Antonelli, who made a small but costly error on the approach to turn 11 that denied him a spot in the final shootout. The decisive SQ3 session provided just 8 minutes on the clock for the 10 remaining drivers, meaning only a single run on the mandatory soft compound tyres would be possible due to tyre degradation. Mercedes' George Russell, along with Williams drivers Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon, were the first to venture onto the empty track, with Russell posting an initial benchmark of 1:32.888. Though his lap was somewhat imperfect after his car became unsettled through turn 1. He finished 0.023 seconds ahead of Sainz and 0.2 clear of Albon as the remaining 7 drivers prepared for their attempts. Then came the shock of the session, as Sauber's Nico Hulkenberg set the timing screens alight with a purple first sector, ultimately claiming provisional pole position with a lap of 1:32.645, almost a quarter of a second ahead of Russell's time. This remarkable performance from the veteran German driver was particularly significant given that Sauber had not scored a single point since Hulkenberg's third-place finish at the British Grand Prix in July, when he finally ended his unwanted record for the most races without a podium. The Ferraris of Hamilton and Charles Leclerc failed to make any impression on the top times, setting up disappointing starting positions of 8th and 10th respectively. As the session approached its climax, Norris delivered what appeared to be a pole-winning lap of 1:32.214, but Verstappen remained on track as the last man to set a time. With all eyes fixed on the 4-time Formula One champion, Verstappen did not disappoint his fans. The Dutch driver matched Norris through the first 2 sectors before delivering a stellar third sector that proved to be the difference maker, ultimately crossing the line with a time of 32.143 to snatch pole position by just 0.071 seconds. This marked Verstappen's third consecutive pole position and demonstrated once again why he remains a formidable championship contender, despite being described as the dark horse in the title fight. Oscar Piastri was unable to match the pace of his teammate or Verstappen, finishing almost 0.4 of a second down on the Red Bull driver's time, highlighting the gap between the absolute frontrunners and the rest of the field. Hulkenberg's stunning qualifying performance held strong as he secured fourth place on the grid, half a second away from Verstappen but comfortably ahead of the chasing pack. Russell claimed fifth position for Mercedes with a gap of 0.745 seconds to pole, followed by Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso in sixth, just 0.767 seconds off the ultimate pace. Carlos Sainz started seventh for Williams with a time 0.768 seconds behind Verstappen, demonstrating the competitive nature of the midfield battle. Lewis Hamilton qualified eighth for Ferrari, 0.892 seconds adrift of pole position, while Williams' Alex Albon secured ninth place, 0.956 seconds behind. Charles Leclerc rounded out the top 10 for Ferrari in 10th position, 0.961 seconds off Verstappen's pace, capping a disappointing qualifying session for the Italian team who struggled throughout all three segments. The stewards confirmed that despite the earlier investigations into slow driving during SQ1, no further action would be taken against any of the named drivers, allowing the grid to stand as qualified. Verstappen's imperious lap in SQ3 has applied maximum pressure on the McLaren drivers as the championship battle intensifies. If the Red Bull driver can capitalize on his starting position in the sprint race, he could take crucial points away from both McLaren drivers and keep himself firmly in championship contention. The margin of victory was incredibly tight at just 0.071 seconds, but it demonstrated Verstappen's ability to find that extra performance when it matters most, particularly through his exceptional third sector execution. Norris came agonizingly close to pole but ultimately fell short, while Piastri will need to find significant pace if he is to challenge for victory in the sprint. Hulkenberg's shock fourth-place qualifying position from a struggling Sauber team added an unexpected element to the front-running battle, proving that the veteran still possesses the speed and racecraft to mix it with the sport's elite when the machinery allows. The Williams team also enjoyed a strong qualifying performance, with both cars inside the top 10, while Ferrari endured a difficult afternoon with both drivers relegated to the bottom half of the top 10. The sprint race promises to deliver intense action as Verstappen looks to convert pole position into victory and extend his momentum in the championship fight against McLaren, while Hulkenberg aims to hold his surprise grid position and potentially score his first points since the summer. So now we want to hear from you. Can Verstappen maintain his qualifying dominance and convert this pole position into a sprint race victory, or will McLaren's Lando Norris, starting just 0.071 seconds behind, find a way to strike back when the lights go out? Will Nico Hulkenberg manage to hold his sensational fourth place against the charging pack behind him, potentially securing those elusive points that have eluded Sauber since July? And can Ferrari recover from their disappointing qualifying performance to challenge for points positions? Most importantly, is this the turning point where Verstappen begins his late-season charge to reclaim championship momentum from McLaren?